Tint Wisdom number 97, our first from the new Tint Wisdom Facebook page. I'm joined with Harry Rahman from Veloce Innovations. What's up, Harry?
I'm doing good. Can you hear me clearly?
I can hear you crystal clearly.
Awesome.
So, um, so yeah, have a few things to discuss, and one of those being the IWFA, which I think you're a great person to speak to since you used to be vice president of the IWFA. So it's a topic that comes up often that I don't think anybody like, not nobody, but I feel like it's discussed a lot and maybe people don't really know the ins and outs of what's going on there. So maybe we could discuss some insight that you've gained during your time as vice president. There's also a topic on Facebook that I wanted to bring up. And obviously, like always, it's open to questions and wherever this conversation goes.
Good. Let's start with the IWFA. What are you hearing, Eric?
So here, like, as far as the IWFA goes, I think there's a sentiment in the industry of overall appreciation for its existence and all that it's done in the past, but maybe feeling like currently there's not enough of a presence, and that's an understatement in a way. Like there's almost non-existent. I think I think the people who maybe relate most with the IWFA have been in the tint industry at least 10 plus years, and anybody in the industry newer than 10 years or even around that mark might have almost no idea of what it does or what it currently does or so on. So, something we spoke about a while back was I had asked you, who's the owner, I think was my wording. And you're like, there is no owner. And I thought the way you explain the structure of it is kind of a great way to kind of start with understanding what it is, what it's there to serve, and go from there.
So, Eric, it's like anything else. It's like the government, or it's like your mayor or your governor. It's very easy to see all the things that somebody is not doing until you're sitting in that position, realizing all the things that are being done. So the first thing I want to say is that can the IWFA, I won't say do more because I think it does a lot. Can it do better? Can it 100%? It can. But is it doing quite a bit? You better believe it. It is doing really well. I think, though, that I do think that they have tried. So I was secretary for a few years, and then I was vice president, and then I also served on the membership action committee over the years. So over my 20 years, a lot of different things. So I'll tell you, I think that the IWFA has done so many things. I don't think that they are really good at sharing all that they have done. I don't think that they do a good job of sharing it. So fighting for window tint laws, fighting for.
Are we talking currently or are we talking in the past?
So I'm talking about the last, so since I'm not on the board right now, I'm talking about the last probably 5 to 10 years or so.
When were you last on the board?
I think it's been maybe 3 years or so.
Okay, so 3 years is pretty relevant. I mean, it's very recent. Like 3 years is only 3 years.
I think it's made a lot of strides. I think one of the things that it was trying to do, the IWFA, was it created what is called the Membership Action Committee. And now this is pretty cool because it allows people that are dealers, that are in the industry, that have good ideas. Because you remember, you and I had a topic we were discussing once, not on air, but we were talking about somebody that said, "Oh my God, I can't believe so and so is not doing this." And you and I discussed and said, "Well, why don't you step up to the plate and help out?"
Right? Well, look, there's no question of like you started this, like you started saying at the beginning, was it's easy to, like a government, to point out the things that could be done better, of course. And like you said, actually putting things into action is much more difficult and takes very few people will step up to the plate and actually put what it does. But with that said, the IWFA is in existence. It is It is an organization for window filmers, and I guess the question is, I'm not trying to come at it from a let's talk bad about it. I'm trying to say, since you have insight into it as recent as 3 years ago, let's talk about the things that just 3, 4, 5 years ago they're doing, because they're most likely still doing some of those things, or it gives us a better understanding of the direction they're going in. Because knowing that fighting for window film laws, again, I don't take away anybody's appreciation for their existence and all they've done in the past. I think the question is 2020, 2019, 2025, 2023, what's going on in this near future? You know,
Yeah.
and nobody, look, they don't have to do anything. They can do anything they want. That's the point. The question is, I'm just saying, what are they doing? That's it.
Yeah. So, a couple of things I want to differentiate, because as a dealer in the marketplace that may be a member of the IWFA, sometimes it's a lot about, Eric, what can be done today, right? What can you do for my state? Well, my laws haven't changed and things have gotten stricter. So it's a lot about what's in it for me. I think some of the things that they are doing and they have done is they've really worked on pretty big strategic things. Like, let me give you an idea. Getting window film to be part of California rebates, getting energy companies to give rebates for window film. Let me tell you, that is a really, really tough thing to do, with all the bad things that glass companies and window companies say about window film, that will void your warranty and it's bad.
Sure.
They've done an amazing job. Now, what happens is, I think that there was a committee formed called the Membership Action Committee. It's a pretty cool committee because it's formed up of dealers, and they take ideas from the dealer market, from the dealers up all the way to see what the dealers want to do. I think that like the Senate or like the Congress, sometimes you can get people with long terms on there that are just occupying space. So forgive me for those of you that may be doing this on the board, but I think that we do need some new blood. And there's a guy I know by the name of Josh Boyce, I think I'm pronouncing his. And Josh was a new blood. He came in and he worked really hard. He took it upon himself to actually make, Daryl, people look at Daryl and say he's been there a long time, but I'll tell you, Daryl is a cornerstone of that organization. But I think we need to continue to have up and coming people that bring in fresh ideas. So I think the Membership Action Committee can be a lot better. And I think it needs to rotate a lot more so that new blood comes in, they bring in fresh ideas. And, Eric, when I was on the board, you could always tell, and you know me, I'm not shy to talk, whether I'm accepted or not. I'm not shy. My wife will tell you that. But is that I always spoke up, and I always appreciated people speaking up and speaking their mind, even though I may not agree with it. There's a lot of passion that comes along with, hey, here's my thought. And I mean,
Sure.
if we don't share our thoughts, my little angle will look at you at the same way. So we need somebody to come in and look at us from here and look at us from here and say, hey, here's my thought.
Right.
It'll make us better. So I think that the terms and the membership action committees and those people that are passionate in the field, that are talking on forums, they need to come up and they need to go to the IWF and raise their hand and say, look, I want to participate in the membership action committee because I can make a difference.
Yeah, and that's why I asked, because ultimately it's one of two things are happening. Either they're doing a lot of great things behind the scene, like you said, and by discussing it, it's going to encourage more people to support it, which is going to hopefully propel it even bigger and better. Or maybe they're not doing so many things, and I don't know. I'm not trying to paint that picture. I'm not trying to insinuate it. I'm
No.
just simply saying this is, I figured an opportunity to bring it out. Now, um, as I think it would be helpful to understand, like for everybody, for myself, what is, if you could kind of touch on what is the structure of it, in the sense like who owns it? I know nobody owns it. I know that's kind of leading question, but
Sure.
like I think it would help to understand the motivation when I'm part, if I'm part of the IWFA, the people that are working towards whatever they're working towards. I wake up in the morning. Is this my job? Is this my part-time job? Is this my hobby? Am I being paid for it? Like, is this a group of, how does that work?
So a couple of things that one should know is, and by the way, by no means am I speaking on behalf of the IWFA. I want to make sure, because it is an association and I don't want anybody to get offended. I'm speaking for somebody that has been on the inside, that is actually talking about the benefits and the things that it brings to our industry. So it's an industry association. It's actually funded significantly by manufacturers, and most people don't even realize. So a lot of dealers think that, okay, look, my 100, 200, 300, whatever the dues are going to fund the IWFA. Not really. I mean, the manufacturers do a great job of funding the IWFA, and the goal was to better the association. And I'll tell you one thing that I was really impressed with is that the manufacturer members that are in there, and from Eastman, I think there was Lisa. I forgot Lisa's last name, but she's amazing. And she comes there, and there are a lot of. I mean, Daryl's another one. Josh is another one. These people come there to really better the industry, and when they walk into that conference call, they really take off the logos on their shirts, and it's really. I was very fortunate to have been vice president. I was very fortunate to have spent some time. But there are people like Lisa, like Daryl, and like Josh, and I'm sure there are other good people out there as well. But these are three that stuck out, that just jumped, and they were there to make a difference. So again, it's funded by the manufacturers as well, and it's also funded a little bit by the dealers. But the other thing is that some of the things that they work on, Eric, it takes months, it takes years. So in the meantime, it may look like it's kind of like you're building a spaceship, right? So you may, for a year, you may say, okay, man, I haven't heard anything from them, but they're
Yeah.
working
That's
on
all
some.
something we can relate to, is building a spaceship.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. You should see the one I'm building. So it just takes a long time. I mean, you don't build a spaceship every day, right? I mean, maybe I do, but not. So that being said, so there are some. I think that they can work at a more tactical level. I definitely think, and I think the new blood in the membership action committees can say, hey guys, can you get this done, or can you get that done, which will make a difference in our lives. But the other thing is, I think the other problem is that whatever they do well, I don't think enough people understand it, and there are a few that take advantage of it. So, such as energy company rebates, right?
Energy
So,
company rebates is like open hunting season. Like when there was rebates, I mean, I feel like window film companies are in pure heaven. So that's an enormous for flat glass. Obviously, that's an enormous benefit.
but guess what happens? Guess what happens, Eric? There are in these markets, there may be X number of, very small segment of the market that's taking advantage of that, because people don't know it, people don't
Mm,
understand it, and, and,
sure.
and all of that stuff. And I'm just using that as an example because that's where the rubber meets the road.
Well, that's a good like definitely a good look. If rebates, there's just so much value to that. So if that's what they're like working towards, obviously laws and so on, huge. You mentioned that they're heavily funded by manufacturers. Now, as a, let's say, window film dealer, you pay your membership dues, and that's your contribution. In return, you're part of the IWFA. I assume you have access to maybe some additional resources and that membership and that support. As a manufacturer, what is the trade like? What is the, I guess, transaction there? Like they support them. How, like a lobbyist, or like do they have like it's just a bigger membership, or like what is that?
No, it's a bigger membership. It's a bigger membership, and
I'm laughing at Carrie, by the way, in the comments because she's putting
which
comments.
come on, I want to hear it. I want to.
I'm just saying because I have to point it out because if I'm laughing at what we're talking about, it makes no sense. So
Sure.
Haas Evans left a comment. He said XS in the house. What's up, everybody? And she said, I literally thought you were calling Eric extra small. And then I didn't laugh. So then she followed it up with, the best is when I say something stupid and Eric can't laugh. That made me laugh. So here we are.
That.
All right. So
So
anyway,
how did people find out?
about what? Oh,
The excess. Sorry for
I'll
the
have to
good
ask
one.
Haas, I guess.
All right,
He's the
okay.
one who posted that. So
All right, makes sense.
okay, so back to IWFA funding from the manufacturers. How does that look? Like how? Uh, yeah, what does that look like?
Look, it's on a voluntary basis, right? So, and in return, those manufacturers get to use the fact that they are IWFA members and so forth, which has a level of credibility. The IWFA is also another thing it's done is it's created some testing programs to create some sort of standard for a flat glass specialist on. So I think there are some benefits. I don't think again enough people use it because look, those tests are not easy, right? And they do. Somebody may have been in this industry, Eric. You know, we deal with dealers every day. May have been in the industry for 20 years, but doesn't understand how infrared heat, works or and so
Right.
forth. So those tests teach you some of those things, and to be able to, to be able to walk in and say, hey, look, I'm certified by the industry association. To me, is it's pretty cool. So there definitely benefits. Can it do more? 100%. But again, I think
Everybody could
that
do more.
uh,
Right.
no, but I really think
So
it can do more. I'm not
yeah.
saying it's doing a good job, but there are things. One of the things is limit the terms for all of these members. We need fresh blood. And another thing is, look, if you are occupying, because there were conference calls I was on, Eric, and
Mhm.
there were two people speaking. There were 10 people on the call, or there were two or three people speaking. Look, if you're occupying a space and you don't have the time or you don't have the passion to grow the industry, bow out,
Right.
bow out,
Right.
let somebody with passion come in and make a difference.
Yeah, 100%. Don't be a placeholder. And
Yeah,
do you find
I
that?
think,
Go ahead.
I, yeah, I think those people should be, and forgive me for this, but those people should be called out. Like, look, you haven't participated. You've been on the call 3 times for the last 3 months. You haven't participated. Uh, I get it. I mean, maybe you have better things to
How do
do
you end
because
up?
remember, there are a lot of voluntary positions as well.
How do you end up in one of those positions if you're not like truly interested in being that position? Is it being part of another company that wants to have somebody in as part of the IWFA?
Yeah,
Is that kind of
your supplier can recommend you. The other thing is on the membership action committee, you can also raise your hands, or if you know somebody, they can volunteer you for it. So there is a process where you can, and once you come on the membership action committee, there are distribute. Here's the cool thing: there's some manufacturer seats, there's some distributor seats, and there's some dealer seats. So it's represented.
So one thing that I would like to see happen with the IWFA, if I can make one request out into the ether, is I wish that they would just simply be more personally active on Facebook, specifically so that, like you already touched on, obviously they would be able to be able to better communicate their what they have going on and so on. But I think it'll also kind of break this barrier where people may be in a good position to help but because they're not active socially, to reach out to them might feel a little archaic or unapproachable, or just it just may not it may not manifest itself versus if they're on Facebook and it's so easy to respond to a comment or engage in a conversation, even if it's in the comments of somebody else's post, and it turns into feeling like you know the person and going from there.
Yeah,
So,
I think their social presence can definitely be. I don't think it actually exists that much
but
at
not
all.
yeah, not
So
from like a marketing and sharing articles perspective. I'm talking like because I don't want to just see more articles shared and stats. I'm saying like, hey, this is so and so. This is Daryl, whoever it is. I'm from the IWFA and I'm in these groups and I put in my 2 cents and I offer the valuable information where it can be offered, because I would imagine there's some questions in the groups that somebody from the IWFA might be a great person to answer them. Like when it does get to like film specs and testings and so on, you know.
I think that we can actually, Eric, create that forum for them because what happens is, as an industry association, they have legal.
Well, the forum's there. I'm just saying they need to be in them. So I'm not saying they should create a forum. I'm just saying like go into
No, but
Window Film Revolution and make a comment or an introduction and say, "Hey, I'm from the IWFA. What's
yeah,
up?"
but but the problem is you can't do that in WFR because if you're not paying them, then they're not going to let you do that. That's a
Well,
joke. No, no, that's a
okay,
joke.
because that I'm just saying, I'm not trying to come to defense, but I'm just saying I would imagine if
Yeah.
the IWFA said, "Hey, as an organization, we'd like to be in there," they would. But to your point of a joke, I think it was obviously spot on target. Just
You're
like,
right. So maybe in Window Film Pros or something that where you don't have to pay to
yeah, but
play. But
any of them.
sure, sure. So no, look, point. I think that honestly, as part of what we're doing, I think that if we see topics, we can actually approach them. Because look, as an association, they have some legal implications on what they can comment on and what they cannot comment on. So what rather than just expect them to comment, and again, there are a lot
Well,
of voluntary there are
yeah,
a lot of voluntary positions there. So I really think that one of the cool things would be is that if we see maybe that we have somebody that is in charge of somebody that's active or wants to be a part of it. And I'll be happy if people pass me those questions that they want addressed by them, and I can approach them and say, hey guys, can you
I
give us,
know, and that's
yeah,
cool and all, but like that's not like making a major move into like I just feel there's so much to gain by like, I understand if people don't have time and whatnot, but I'm just saying as an organization, part of that structure should have some sort of like social reach that is transparent and human and not just sharing stuff because if as an organization they can't comment on certain things, I think it's of benefit instead of just not being anywhere to say, hey, as an organization, these are the things we can't comment on. We can't tell you which is the best manufacturer, we can't tell you which is this, but we can tell you XYZ, and it's on the table and it's simple and we know what we can expect and what we can't expect. But as of just kind of like the silence, again, I'm not trying to paint them into like not doing a good job. That was simply I think they would have enormous benefit, even
yeah.
when it comes down to how many people are supporting them, the value people see in them, the value they understand in what they're doing, and then the potential people starting to work within it or help out in any who knows what way possible because they start to feel that connection.
And I'm not defending them. I'm just telling you in terms of their structure, there are a lot of volunteer positions. And maybe what we can do is this, that maybe I can look, there are some as part of the membership action committee, maybe they can have a position on there that I may be able to suggest to them that they can have a position that is in charge of bringing those topics uh, from the forums and from the dealers back into so that can be addressed.
I nominate myself to be part of the IWFA in this position.
Okay, all right. We need some hands for seconds and thirds. I'll second you, man. No,
Okay,
really,
cool.
you want to be
Yeah, I mean, I
that.
would definitely. I'm not just talking shit. Like I think it's important.
I
I
think you're
think there's
talking shit, man.
no. I'm trying. Look, I'm trying to pull out. I'm trying personally to understand all that the IWFA does because I'm assuming they do a lot. I'm not assuming they do nothing. But I'm saying, as far as people probably know, it feels like they're doing nothing. But so I'm just simply saying, hey, let's talk about it. Let's find out what they're doing. Let's do things that help involve the community. And I'm sure there's things that the IWFA could use help from the
Okay, so
community. And I'm just simply
I'll
saying
reach out.
I would put my time to be able to help bridge that gap however possible. I'm not saying go hire
Listen,
somebody.
I know a lot of people there, and I'll reach out and I'll say, hey, look, I think that you need somebody on the membership action committee, and I'll nominate Eric Divash, and
Thank
he'll
you.
bring some topics that you can address or cannot address. If you can't address it, then and that way, all right, okay, you've given me homework, man.
I don't know. Thank you.
Yeah. Let me ask you
Huh.
this: what do you think the IWFA should be doing? I mean,
So
you've been a
look,
dealer?
I'm just saying, like, okay, first and foremost, I want to clearly say, I'm not coming from a place like, man, I feel like they should be doing X, Y, Z, and they're not. Wow, I'm not coming from that position. I'm coming from the position of I want to know what they're doing. That's it. Like that's really where I'm coming from. Now, if like you brought up rebates and tint laws, and these are things that are important. They're what you'd expect an organization like that to do. Of course, I think there's add-ons. Of course, we can all come up with ideas of like, here's what you should be doing. But I really like to not. I'm not trying to impose my suggestions on an organization because they've been in it longer than I have and they know what they're doing. I'm just trying to extract all that
But
they're
I want to hear.
probably doing.
I'm with you, but let's take the assumption that the
Okay,
IWFA did not exist today.
so
So I'm
first,
saying, what would you? We're forming it today.
okay,
I'm
so first,
president. You're vice
if we're
president,
talking
Eric.
IWFA exists and we're doing some improvements, or it doesn't exist.
No, so we're saying it
Okay,
doesn't
doesn't
exist.
exist.
By the way, Eric, I'm president. You're vice president.
Okay, I'll take it.
I'm just kidding. Go ahead. Go ahead. What will we do today?
Um, okay, so like law wise, I think that we need to, and this obviously takes a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of, legality and so on. But I think we need to be, as a window film industry, very much on the offense as far as all the using today's technology, today we're in an environment where everybody's very health conscious. Now that doesn't mean we're all going to the gym and not eating poorly, but it's a very big part of our culture is trying to improve our health and work towards that better way of living. And I think if we take it from 2020 and we use the technology we have, I think we'd be able to show that the health benefits and the comfort benefits and the driving benefits and so on, whether it be rebates in your homes to, for skin related cars and all, I think being on the offense, we'd be able to use today's environment and technology to paint a better picture and move those things more in the industry's favor, as opposed to being on the defense and, window film being something that's looked upon as a revenue source for states, and and that's just like one area. And like I want to kind of reiterate, I don't know that they're not doing it. The other big part of it is that I think I'd want to implement in our pretend IWFA is I don't want to minimize how important it is for the social aspect of it. And what I mean by that is the IWFA not being something that we hear about, we know, we respect the logo, but they're somewhere behind closed curtains and like it feels very distant. I think it's extremely important to crowdsource minds and people's individual times and experiences and so on, and draw from the industry to move those things forward. So I think overall it's more of that idea of getting more of that stuff out there and transparent so that more people can either support it or be a part of it, support it either financially and being part of it, or through their own time and efforts or connections, or who knows.
Yeah, so I'll tell you a little bit on the inside. I think definitely, can they be more interactive? Can people feel like they can approach somebody there? Yeah, definitely. I don't think that the budgets. I will tell you, the things that they put.
But here's the thing. How many tinters do you think there are? Do you have numbers? You might have numbers. How many tinters do you think are out there?
I had the numbers.
Not on IWFA.
I'll tell you,
just in the world, in the country.
It's a small percentage of our industry, and honestly,
no. Here's what I'm saying. I back up for a second. What I'm trying to get at is how many tinters are there in the country or in the world, and say if there was more of that transparency and more of that, if the budget would be higher because you'd have more people support. People maybe be, you're paying, what's IWFA membership? $500 a year as a dealer?
I think like 200 or 300. I don't remember yet.
So 300. So if you are part of the BBB, which tons of tint companies are, you're spending more for the BBB per year than you're spending for your own industry organization. If you advertise at the minimal amount on Yelp, you are spending more to support your Yelp page than the industry organization. Now tell me why the IWFA, I would rather spend money on Yelp or on the BBB to have that page on Google than I would for my profile page, which shows me as such a credible, amazing window tinter as part of the IWFA. It's simply, they don't have the budget because they're not doing the right things to generate the budget, in my opinion, based off of this.
So I'm not saying that they are. I think that money that they take can go further. I definitely think that can go further. But as a dealer, it's one of those things. Think about it as your city, right? whether you pay taxes in that city or not, some people view it as the roads in that city are going to be repaired anyway. What you personally, right? So as the greater good comes along, the IWFA by many dealers is also looked at as, well, they're going to do what they're going to do whether I participate in, because they're going to benefit the industry anyway, and I'm going to get benefit out of that, right? So I think that again the IWFA can do a much better job of actually sharing some of the things that they are doing and have done, instead of, in fact, I think one of the last years I was there, we actually created a board that it was my idea, where we said, hey, let's post all of our accomplishments, that some of the all of the things that the IWFA has done over the last few years on this board, and that every person that comes to visit us, we can say, okay, let us walk you through this letter and this rebate and this law and this, because people have no idea, right? So
Right.
again, I think that, look, there are enough volunteers in our industry, there are enough volunteers on the boards that they can take those initiatives and bring it. But to your point, I agree with the fact that you can charge more if you
If
deliver more.
if you bring value,
Yeah,
people want to give you money. It's that
sure.
simple. You know, like if you're giving them value, they will pay for it. They want to, and that's the transaction that I think is mutually beneficial. Is, you know, it's anyway. That's where we're at. Um, so I wanna move on, but it's kind of similar. But before I do that, I am I can I ask why you're not part of the board anymore? Is that a voting process? Is that a time process? A personal decision? How does that work?
Yeah, good question. We will be a part of the board as we grow. Uh, in our first few years, there are a lot of other priorities that we wanted to, but in the next probably year to two, we will get back on to support the industry association. Yeah.
Got it. So as a manufacturer, you totally see the value in being part.
I feel that as an industry association, we each have to do our little part. So I feel that for Veloce to be a part of that, we have, to me, it's not an option. I mean, I see, Eastman primarily, on the Lumar side, they do a good job of that. There are other companies that do a good job of participating in that. So I think to me, it's not a choice. One has to, if you're going to be part of an industry, then you have, just like if you're a part of a neighborhood and you see something, if you're part of a city and if you're part of a homeowners association and you need to be a part of it so you can better it together. You can't blame the guy behind you saying, hey man, why doesn't he do enough? So we will become, we're going to get back on with the IWA.
Beautiful. So
Yeah.
I want to move to. Go
Here's a
ahead.
thought, right?
Tell me.
If anybody that's listening has ideas on what the IWFA could be doing in addition, please post them in the comments. Good, because we can all learn, and then hopefully they'll get to hear this as well.
So there was a post in the Window Film Revolution. I have it over here to my left. Um, Not on screen, but I wanted to pose a question to you. I wanted to discuss this post. I'm curious for everybody's feedback obviously in the comments as well, and it kind of ties into the IWFA indirectly because the IWFA may be some sort of answer to this question. Um, so I'm going to read it.
Yeah.
I'm just I'm reading through the comments at the same time.
Sure.
Okay, it was by Michael Burke, and it was in the Window Film Revolution. And his question for the group was warranties on films, question marks. Checks and balances. Should we have a group like IWFA or this group or any organization that should hold manufacturers to what they promise? Help us have a Google review or Yelp review just for shops and installers to hold manufacturers or resale groups accountable. Read the good and the bad so like the manufacturers want to fix the problem. Now, before we stop there, I want to just read one of the comments that was by Jeff Phillips from Expel. And his comment, I feel like, is almost like an add-on to the question because it poses its own questions. He said, I love the idea. The challenge is I haven't figured out how anyone would enforce it. What's the penalty? Who determines the legality of it? Who fairly interprets the situation? And I think that is really the like right perfectly said, who fairly interprets the situation, because that's usually everything. He said
Yeah.
the best way to handle punishing film companies is to make your experience known and take your business elsewhere. Put bad companies in a position where they have to change or they die. The big question is, how do you support the shops that get burned, big or small, as a community? Is there a way to fairly rate film companies on a site with an explanation and a date so installers can get a feel of who they are dealing with? Even then, there are so many that are willing to disparage a company just because they aren't granted distribution opportunities. So that poses so many angles to that. And then
Yeah.
you, coming from IWFA at one point, and then also film manufacturing, what do you think?
First of all, I'd like to say that the points that Jeff brought up are very deep and very factual, and he really put some time and thought into putting that out there. That being said, I think we're just doing it. Look, you can't, they say that a liquid will find its own level, right? It settles to the lowest point. So, in a similar manner, we're already doing it. This whole process of discussion is on there. The whole process of, again, if you are uh, on a what you call forum that allows free talk, right? Then guess what? Then all of this comes up. Now, if you restrict the discussions to X, Y, or Z, that's a separate issue. But if you're on a free forum, and most of the forums, in fact, nearly all of them, well, not nearly all of them, but I have free conversations. So this is inevitable, is that when somebody comes up, you share your experience, right? And this is why today restaurants are not just dependent. You remember back in the days, Eric, you would drive by a restaurant and you would see a long line and you would say, hey, they must be doing something right, right? And then today we could be sitting here and I'm thinking, where do I want to eat? I'm looking at the reviews. So all of these things are already in play.
But they
As
are,
far
but
as
they aren't. They are, but they aren't, because if I look, I agree with all you're saying. If it's going to find its own level, in the sense, like, somebody shares their experience right now on Facebook, hundreds, if not maybe 1,000 people are going to see that. They're going to read it. They're going to understand it. It's going to go away. But there is not an accumulation of that data. That data is one in every 30 or 40 posts in a Facebook group. So for what we would be doing if we were looking for the best pizza right now, we'd be saying, let's look at the pizza and let's look at all the people that shopped at that pizza place and what they had to say about the pizza. Not all the people that left a review, obviously.
yeah.
But there is not that equivalent to film. I can't go anywhere. How could I go into one of these Facebook groups? What would I search to pull up all of the reviews on a film? I would have to actively ask the question, and then you get that same kind of regurgitation of,
No, I disagree with you. I mean, think about it. If I want to go find, now remember, let's go to the pizza company, right?
no, let's
So
go to window
you're looking.
film. Let's talk window film. Where are you
Okay,
finding it
let's
in
talk
window
window
film?
film. That's fine. So if I'm looking for something and I see more negative reviews than
But where
positive
are you
reviews,
looking is my question. Right
I mean,
now, I want
on
to
the
find all the reviews on Veloce. Where do I do that?
on the forums.
Where? How do I do it? Tell me what I do. I go into the Facebook group and I type in search and I type in Veloce reviews or Eastman reviews or
Well,
Coolview reviews or whatever
look.
it is. You're gonna get.
So
You're,
look, you're much
I
further
know, but what
along
I'm
on the
telling you
social.
is that doesn't exist. And then we kind of went in a
Okay,
circle to it does, and it doesn't. There is no place that like you can find a thread, you can find a post, you can find one from time ago, but for the most part, you're not going to one place that has accumulated all the feedback about a certain topic. You're looking through post after post after post, which you certainly can do.
sure.
The question is, if we think back to the internet pre-Facebook, you think about MySpace and before, where were people socializing? They were socializing on message boards. On message boards, you created names. You created names like, Mustang Fan 1987 and,
Right.
this and
So,
that. And
so, so
Facebook changed the game because they said, hey, if you're going to interact, you're going to be you. And if we don't think you're you, you're not going to be a part of this. And you're only going to be able to have one of you on there. And that accountability the like changed the interactions of how people interacted on the internet. So my question is it something worth pursuing? Do you see the value in
Yeah.
some sort of website where there is different levels of authentication that come into verifying a
Yeah.
situation and putting it out there, like the
So
BBB, basically.
yeah, I want to make a distinction. So you're talking not about the retail shop, not about Harry's window tinting, but you're talking
No,
about suppliers.
that's what Michael Burke's question is how, like, should there be something that holds manufacturers accountable, meaning like you can review it. So if I buy film from XYZ company treats me poorly, does something that, you know, I think is important, can I share that in a place where the good and the bad will accumulate for somebody else to make their decision, instead
I
of,
mean,
go ahead.
look, here's the problem, and Jeff brought this up. Here's the problem that you face with that is that there are companies that are very large, right? So they have thousands of dealers as opposed to a lot less. So what you're going to do is, again, you're going to get overshadowed. So
Sure.
look, if I think we do it anyway, because look, there are companies like if there's somebody that wants to try out a new product, they'll go on there and they'll say, hey, give me your feedback. And then all of a sudden, you know, you start getting, hey, I've had a horrible experience, or I've been a dealer for 20 years or
For sure.
whatever else. So, I mean, I think that on an individual basis, people do that. And I think it's honestly more authentic for somebody to get that on a case by case basis rather than just a bunch of reviews over the last 3, 4,
Well,
5, 10
okay.
years.
So what we're imagining, I'm just saying, is like we can't limit ourselves to what kind of exists now, in the sense like, of course, just somebody being able to go post a review wouldn't be a good idea, because you just get, like Jeff brought up, you get people that maybe want to disparage a company because they weren't granted access to it, and you
Yes.
get this and that and the other. That's why I brought up different levels of authentication. That's why Michael Burke asked, and I think Jeff maybe, or no, maybe Jeff brought it up, of like, you know, how do you fairly interpret the situation? So we have to assume that there is going to be work behind what goes into that. Like, you can verify, like, I'll give you an example. If I wanted to leave a bad review about XYZ window film company, you could verify if I was ever even selling XYZ window film company film or not. Like, you could verify that if I was a dealer. I would be able to verify maybe my receipts and show you this is how much I've bought from the company.
Mm-hmm.
I would be able to possibly show you the film. I could show you the boxes. I could show you, like, there are things that make it more and more credible.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to touch on the other point of, you know, you mentioned a great point of some companies have way more dealers than others. So you're going to get potentially more reviews to that. But doesn't that same dynamic exist on a dealer level, where you have dealers who sometimes are one-man operations out of their home garage, and they're going up against shops that are doing 10, 20 cars a day, but they're still competing in the review game? Because, you know, Daniel Puentes posts often. He's in the Window Film Revolution. I mean, he tints out of his home garage, and he has more reviews than most window film companies. And he's just him. So, like, the David and Goliath thing, I don't know is an actual necessary issue.
Yeah, it will definitely have to be. This is not something that I think the IWFA or somebody would be able to. It would have to be done very privately. The other thing that if it was done, is you would have to give the suppliers a chance to respond, just like the BBB does, and you'd have to give, you know, some sort of equitable relationship. The only thing that can happen is it can become a pissing contest as well. Well,
Definitely could become a pissing contest.
So
it could.
Yeah, so it's he said, she said.
But it also could become a accountability contest, where it makes the same way as a tint shop or as a pizza shop. The invention of reviews let you know that every customer is valuable. It likely would have that same effect on the companies being reviewed, wouldn't it?
It could, but again, you know, the other side of it is, look, we've got, and I'll just share this with you. We've got situations, and I'm sure every supplier does, where we have a dealer in Las Vegas that hasn't paid us, owes us a ton of money, hasn't paid us in 4 months, right? Or 5 months, and we cut them off, right? Now, we didn't go out there and bash them or say anything of that nature. We just said, hey, look, we'll let the collections company handle it, right? So that same thought process can work the other way around
Well,
as
it
well.
could, but I look
Which,
at that as like, as a tin company, if you have a customer who doesn't pay you, you don't necessarily go to his job or go to his neighborhood and tell everybody what a, what a bad guy he is or bad lady he is. You just go, he's my customer. That's going to be part of our losses. That's built into our business. Just as if somebody steals something, you're not going to, from your store, you're not going to go to their kid's school and tell the teacher. You're just going to go, we lost that $10. That's part of business. So
yeah,
it's
and I'm not saying either or. Look, I'm not saying either. So the point I'm trying to make is that that pissing contest can become, it can go to a point where it's like, okay, well, what I haven't told you, and there are a lot of limitations with suppliers
yeah,
of we can say, right? So, I mean, we can't because we have a lot more to lose
right. I
than
understand.
Eric just saying, okay, so there are a lot of legal implications that comes in. And,
Yeah,
Jeff brought up, I think Jeff's with Expel, right?
absolutely.
Yeah, so Expel is publicly traded. Now you take a private company that can say a little bit more. Now, public company is like, let me give you an idea. When I was in this, it's related but not related, but the issue is liability of what you can say. When I was in college, we did a study for Walmart, right? One of the studies we did, and we realized the goal was to eliminate theft at Walmart, right? And we did a study, and the study really showed that a, a lot of the theft that takes place at Walmart is also taken by people that are actually buying stuff, right? So the point I'm trying to make is that when we looked at the overall value, the cost of eliminating theft was cheaper to let those customers because they're liability. So if you go today in a Walmart and you fall and you ask them for $2,000, and please don't
So
try this.
relate it back to tint so I can draw the
So
connection.
liability that these companies, there comes a point when they say, look, it's just better to leave it alone. They're not going to get down to the level, not just a Veloce, but I'm talking about an Expel or an Eastman. They're not going to get to that level, and they're just going to, it's not even, you're not
Well,
going to
here's the
get a
thing.
true story.
Here's the thing. At the end of the day, I think the question was brought up by Michael, and I I guess what I'm trying to say is I understand all the reasons why it could not work, and I understand all the implications. And you bring up extremely good points, especially the difference between a public and a private company. And like you said, I mean that's a huge, huge point. But there's nothing stopping somebody like Michael Burke or like John Doe or anybody from literally creating a site. And I'm definitely not doing this. I'm just letting everybody know it's not what I'm talking about. But there's not stopping anybody from doing something like that. And once they do that, if they gain enough traction, that is going to have the effect in there. So what I'm saying is it's kind of like the concept of like, as a business, you can be proactive in how you manage your reviews and how you handle yourself. Or you can wait until somebody like Yelp pops up and some customer goes and puts something on Yelp. You never even claim the page, and all of a sudden it just exists. So that's it. I know it's
Yeah,
not
so
it's not a great subject either. It's not talking about
no,
cupcakes,
agreed. But I'll
you know?
just say that if whoever does it can do it, and there's nothing stopping anybody, they can do a private version and do it. The only problem is it's not going to be an indicator of the truth, the facts of the matter, because there are going to be companies that are going to say, look, it's not even worth us, getting in that mud fight.
Right. I got you. Um so where to from here?
So I wanted to talk to you about one of the things I wanted to talk to you about was, something that I see, and I'm sure you see it as well with Tint Wiz, is Eric change, right? One of the things that I see a lot of people is the you know the reason to not. There are two ways of looking at change, right? There's three ways. You can deny it, right? Whatever change that is, right? That's happening, you can deny it, whether that's technology such as TintWiz or whatever it is. You can accept it, or you can seek it. And I want to talk to you this because I see a lot of small businesses. We talk to so many dealers, and I'm sure all suppliers do. But a lot of there are a lot of people out there, and I'm sure you here. Well, I'm gonna just do this. I'm just gonna write this by hand because that's how I've been doing it. So, I want to talk to you about, give me your thoughts of what prevents somebody from embracing change, and what, or even embracing is one level, seeking change. I mean, what do you see at TintWiz on why people don't adopt TintWiz more?
So what I'm seeing is I actually see the people who are adopting Tinwiz. So like
Mhm.
that's pretty much who I'm interacting with. Just because if we're talking, you probably inquired about it, you set up a demo, you set up training, you're in the live chat. So my angle is kind of more luckily speaking to the crowd that does see the opportunity there and is open to change. Now, obviously, like over the last year or so since we've been, year and a half, 2 years since we've been out there has been a progression in the type of people I'm speaking to because there's clearly now versus a year and a half, 2 years ago, more of a certainty amongst a percentage of the tinters that they need Tint Wiz. And this is not supposed to be a Tint Wiz commercial, but you asked.
Sure,
So
sure.
I'm talking to more people who say, you know, it's time. I didn't see the value before, and now it's time. Or I didn't have time before, but now I have to, and so on. And that's the kind of angles I'm seeing a lot of. I love when I speak to a lot of older people. Obviously, like I like speaking to everybody age wise, but it's especially fulfilling to me to know that somebody that's in their 50s or 60s is willing to adopt a piece of technology. To me, there's an
So,
extra reward in
so
that.
what do you think has happened over the last year in terms of them adopting this technology? Tell me a little bit about, because I heard a lot of people. Well, $100 is a lot a month. I can do this. It's cheaper. It's faster
Sure.
for me to
So,
do this. And again, I'm saying, look,
yeah,
you are attracting a different crowd right now, right? And
yeah.
but that crowd is also a little bit more immune to change after
So
seeing some.
there's very, 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 very few people who say $100 is a lot of money because it's not a lot of money for an investment into your business, for a software for your business, for anything for your business. It's
Sure.
actually not a lot. It's always, and you've said it before, it's about the transaction. It's not about the cost. It's what's the return. So
Yeah.
$100 is not a lot of money. Now, what I do encounter, not people who reach out, but more like on the forums, is that people who maybe they or not maybe they just don't understand. They just have no idea why TintWiz is not Google Calendar, or why using Square is not the same as using TintWiz, why you'd want to use them combined, why you wouldn't just want to look for a free scheduling software and say, well, I'm using this for free and it handles my scheduling. They just don't know. And that's not a big deal. I feel like that's the challenge as a company, is getting your message out there and helping people understand the value in your product or service. So I know that once they get to the stage of either doing a demo or even just kind of playing with it themselves, usually it's, oh my God, I didn't know how much this did. Oh my God, this is incredible. Like it is that. And my response is there's a lot of layers to the onion. So when you pick up that onion and you just look at it and maybe you taste the layer, you go, well, I got a tomato in my hand over here or whatever it is. But an onion's an onion and it's not a tomato. And if you peel back the layers, you realize, well, there's a lot to it. And that's a weird example. But my point being, it's an education thing. It's over time. I think as there's more people now using TintWiz, there's more people that when they say, "Hey, what are you using?" or they're passing along like word of mouth, like literal word of mouth. Hey, I was using this, now I'm using this. It's a game changer, and that coming from different members of the community is opening up other people's mind, because you know the deal. If somebody tells you, if you see a service and you just see it and you're like, okay, there's a service, I got it. But if you hear from somebody, hey, I was using cable, I'm using Netflix, or I'm using Hulu and Netflix, it's like 1/5 of the cost, I'm not watching commercials and it's way better. That's different than you seeing, just hearing about it. And that's, I think, the effect that we're having. So, um, you know, to kind of circle back, I feel like your question was what is keeping people from change. So just to kind of summarize that, I think it's um, mostly a lack of knowing what's there, because they just simply don't know what's on the other side. So it's like, I'm not going there.
Yeah.
until
So it's
there's reason. Till a
fear of
friend brings them.
fear of the unknown, right? Fear of the
I don't
unknown.
even know
So,
that it's fear.
you
It could be a little fear. It could be a little laziness. It could be a little overwhelmingness. So I can tell you one stat that is tied to being a Tint Wiz user is you are more likely to be a Tint Wiz user if you have multiple people in your company. That's not because Tint Wiz is for bigger shops. It's because it's usually somebody in the company reaching out and starting to use Tint Wiz and implementing it for the owner. And it's usually one of those, the owner doesn't have time, the owner, is just too busy, and somebody within the company sees the value. So I think just simply not having time to do the exploration and to
know,
sit down is a huge one. You're
I think that's where your one-on-ones make a huge difference, because
well,
instead of them doing their own research, they can come in, they can get a live view of.
it's not just that. It's once they understand that this does not take more time. Of course, it takes some time to learn. You have to actually literally download an app. That's going to take an extra minute. And you're going to have to sign up. That'll take an extra. It's going to take a little bit of time up front, but it saves you time from the first day you use it. So it's reclaiming your time. It's reclaiming your mind. So you're not tied up with remembering things and taking phone calls from people who you forgot to call back and that sort of thing. So it's a time saver. But maybe the assumption is it's going to take more time, but that's not the case.
Interesting. So, so interesting you say that. I think the other thing is that as you get, uh, you know, as they see more people, you're attracting more of the like-minded people instead of the people that are restricted to change and so forth. So, all right, that makes sense, because I was just wondering, because I see a lot of people that are still uh, out there when I read some forums, is they've stopped learning. Shops that have been doing things the same way for the last 10, 15, 20 years, and they just want to maintain that lifestyle. So that's why I was asking what you come
So,
across.
look, something that I feel is very core to the company, to TintWiz, and to my North Star is the idea of we're here to support our users from the first user to the 100th user and so on and so on. Our users are who we're going to support. So what I'm saying is we spend all the time trying to improve TintWiz, trying to add features to it, trying to do things that make our users have a smile on their face on a Friday or a Wednesday or whatever it can be. But our focus is 100% on our users. We want our users to win. We want them to win at life, at their business. We want them to win the job. We want them to win when they're at the beach and they're still able to handle their business. We want them to win on all aspects. And by doing that, I know that we're just going to continue to move in that right direction. But what I'm saying is, we're not like we're going to spend 0% of our efforts, money, time, and energy trying to convince people who aren't there yet, because that to me is a waste of resources.
Understood. Makes total sense. And I think that's so what I see is something similar on a different spectrum. Some of our Super Thursday videos, I've seen a lot of people that have been calling us, have been attracted to, hey, can you help me with my business, instead of just supply me a piece of film that I can get from everybody else. So I think it's kind of that you get what you put out. So if you put out good information, if you put out and in your case, what you're trying to do is better your user experience, and the better their experiences, the more they'll share with it.
You know how how in the last couple of months we've been getting a lot of users is we'll get people who sign up and then they do the training, the one-on-one demo or training. And I've heard it, I don't know how many times now. They say, I go, how did you find out about TintWiz? And they say, a customer of mine showed me a quote from another company. And because at the bottom of the quote, it says powered by TintWiz, they were like, what
Yeah.
the hell is this? And then they were like, I have to use this. So like, it's a matter of like, you might think pen and paper is working. That's fine until you're going up against a quote or a company that's way beyond you. And those are the jobs you want to get. You want to get the jobs that are the jobs that are won by the customers that are attracted to professionalism and service are the ones that are willing to pay for it. So you don't want those bottom of the barrel jobs. If your customer is okay with you scribbling down measurements on a piece of paper, I mean, you're selling your customer short, and you're not going to get necessarily the portion of the market that you actually may not even know exists.
Yep. Point made. Point made. So what I hear you is that, look, you're not really dealing um, with those type of customers and trying to convince the ones that are not ready. You've left them alone.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a great thing. We got past that very beginning stage of like, what is this? Because when it's what is this, you definitely get obviously people who are like, what is this? Is this going to be, is this going to, am I going to be able to go to sleep in my window and I'll just make money? And you get those what ifs, what is this? But now it's kind of sifted more to the, okay, I want this. I want this. So it's busy. It's great. And fortunately, fortunately, we have a great user base because the positive, like even just now, we're talking about this, and like the comments, like Billy's comment, Haas's comment, like uh, these are Tint Wiz users, but like Tint Wiz for life, Tint Wiz, like I've never used anything else, like things like that. Like, and you hear, like that makes going to work really freaking easy. Put it that way. That
Sure.
makes like when that's who you're talking to and that's who you're helping, and you're hearing positive stuff, like way easier. So that's why it makes sense. Like in our marketing, you see it like with giveaways and with things we do. I would rather give something to a user of ours and make them, even if it just gives them a smile on a Tuesday, than spend that money trying to reach somebody else who has their mind made up right now, again, not to use it. Why would I, like, why would I spend those resources there? It just doesn't make sense.
Point made. Point made. Good point.
So, real quick, David Kratz asked, how does TintWiz work with task management? Does it have similar features to something like Monday.com? So, there is a complete task management within TintWiz. So, within your projects, there's a notes area. Within that notes area, you can create notes, but you can also assign tasks. So, you can assign tasks to other members of the company. As they view them or reply to them, you're notified, and you can keep that thread. So, all your tasks, all your comments, your notes regarding to a project are all in there. Now you can also do what's called pending tasks, and pending tasks is a little innovative, I feel like, feature within the task ecosystem. And the reason I like it best is because you know the way things usually flow like tasks is, let's say you have the owner of a company and that company now has, let's say, 2 or 3 staff. Okay, typically the workload will flow directly to the owner. So everybody who has a problem, every little task that needs to get done, it goes right to the owner. Or if there's an admin, everything goes to that admin. So one person, maybe 2 people, they become swamped with things. What pending tasks allow you to do as a user is you can create a task, and it's an open task. So it's open for anybody within your company to take that task and complete it. So I can create a pending task if I'm working within a company. If I don't know, something needs to be done, but I don't know who's going to get to it first, it can be a pending task. And then you see it as an alert that there's a pending task, or there's a pending task, or whatever. And now if somebody within your company has a few minutes, they click in the pending task to go, I can do that one. They take it. It comes out of that list. I can go back and go, okay, I can do that one. I can take it. So it's a way that work actually gets done as quickly as possible by whoever can do it best, as opposed to it just kind of virtually ending up on someone's desk and that person is the only one who's tending to it. So yes, there's task management within there. You can also even create tasks that are outside of the scope of a project. So if you needed somebody to do something, but it's not related to a window phone project, you can keep your tasks there as well, unrelated to projects. And you can do that with the calendar as well. You can schedule yourself to go to your kids' PTA meeting in there, and it's not related to a window 10 task, but you obviously want it on your calendar, so you can keep all your events in one place.
Got it. Any other questions on the board?
No, sorry I go on so much. That was what, a good like 3 minutes.
Yeah,
I don't think I breathed.
yeah, yeah. You get in your zone, man.
It's
That's
definitely in a
that's pretty
zone.
cool. That's pretty
I
cool.
really enjoy it. So there was a topic you mentioned earlier today. What keeps people from doing something? I mean, not earlier today, a few minutes ago. And I wanted
Yeah,
to ask you on your side of it. What do you see as far as what do you see as barriers? People run into, because I think when you see it in maybe other people, sometimes you hear it, you might identify those things in yourself, and you're like, yeah, I kind of do that too sometimes, or whatever it is.
you know, Eric, I think one of the issues is that people have done something. People do things for such a long time, and then it just becomes nature. And one of the things I read recently was, you've got to keep learning. You've got to keep learning, and you've got to keep that mind and you've got to train that mind to keep learning. Otherwise, what's going to happen is you're going to hit cruise control, and cruise control will life will bypass you while you're on cruise control. So, some of the things that I see is that there's a little bit of a fear of the unknown, right? A little bit of, okay, well, I've been doing this. Well, what about if I mess up? There's also a little bit of the relearning process, right? There is a thing of, okay, well, I've been using this. I remember when I had my BlackBerry and the iPhone came out, and there was initially it was like, oh my God, I got to learn to use this thing. I love my BlackBerry.
Touchscreen? Like, why would I want to use a touchscreen? You got a little pad, a little ball.
That's exactly the scroll. So, there was that thought process of I have to relearn the process of doing something. So I think, I feel like sometimes that, and I think the issue is that people get so fixated on relearning instead of understanding the benefit of what that relearn and the return instead of the cost of the time that it's going to take you to relearn, right? And then I think people, to me, we see people that are just very content in the sense, okay, I've been doing this for 15 years, for 20 years, I'm just going to continue doing it the same way. Nothing wrong with that, except, if you're still doing the same thing and from 20 years ago or 15 years ago today, exactly the same way, life is passing you by. Now, we're very fortunate that, initially we had a much greater outbound effort, but I think with the Super Thursday videos that I do, we are attracting a lot of like-minded people that are coming and saying, look, you know what, Eric, I had one dealer tell me about a week ago who called me and he didn't want to talk. He asked for my cell phone number and he called me and he said, listen, I feel like I'm stealing from you. And I swear. He's like, I feel like I'm stealing from you. And I said, what are you talking about? And he's like, but I watch your videos. I get so much out of them, but I don't buy any film from you. And I said, it's okay. Listen, first of all, you don't have to. We'll send you a packet, right? So, but it was that kind of mindset of people. So we're seeing a lot of people now that are more along the lines of, hey, look, I want to do business with somebody that's going to help me rather than just shell out the roll of film when they whenever they need it and so forth. So it's changed a lot over the last year, and I think that it's going to continue to change because we're getting to a point where for us, territories are like real estate, right? So we don't want to saturate markets. So once we get a good dealer in an area and that's taken over, our focus goes from customer acquisition to helping that dealer grow his business further instead of just, hey, let's put in, more dealers in the area. So, but again, back to the question, I think, continue, if you're a dealer or if you're an installer, continue to learn new processes, right? Yeah. We had one of our dealers from outside of the country, Eric, we've got this product called Cool Touch IR, and this guy has installed everything. He's installed 8 mil film, and he came into the US, and he was testing on my Lexus, and he installed Cool Touch IR on the windshield of my Lexus. By the way, we sent Cool Touch IR to one of our best dealers in the United States, and his comment was, there's no way you can shrink this film on a back glass. It's not doable.
And your Lexus, what, was an LFA?
No. It was just an LS 460. No LFA here. I believe, I don't think that, and I'm going to get punished for this, I don't think that the Japanese really make nice sports cars. I think the Americans do, and I think the Italians do.
Are you dissing the LFA?
I am dissing the LFA, yes.
All right, folks, have a great evening. We got to go.
I think Lexus should stick to luxury vehicles until they get something good going.
Well, I disagree with you there, but what's your topic for tomorrow on Super Thursday?
I don't know. I don't know. I'll have to really think about something that is really pressing. So most of my topics for my Super Thursday series come from situations that either I am facing or some of our dealers are facing. And then what we do is, if I see a generic term there, a theme there, then we'll address that. So last one was pretty interesting. It was about the combining, how to combine politics in or your political affiliation, however you want to look at it, in your business. And it was
How
just
to do it, how to combine them, or how to keep them separately.
no, I mean, look, it's as long as you have your business mindset first and it helps you, you can actually combine it. Look at Fox News and look at CNN. I mean, they know their target markets, right? So, and they go very hard at them. So if it helps your business more than it hurts your business, then, use your political sides to help it. But you have to just understand that, look, you have the ability to alienate 50% of your people. And it's not just your customers. We have internal customers. We have employees that may not think exactly the way. To me, the issue is not even about politics. I think the issue is of tolerance, right? I think that's the main issue that comes up is tolerance. Politics is just a topic within the issue of tolerance. And whether that's religion or political affiliation or whatever it is, it's okay to understand, just like you said, hey, look, I don't agree with you on the LFA, Harry. You have no idea what it can do. And I'm like, neither do you. So,
Nope.
we can agree to disagree, right? And I still think you're wrong, but you should listen to a Lamborghini Murcielago V12 engine, and you should just
Interesting.
look at the way and let Lexus stick to the SUVs and cars. So, but anyway, going back, I think the issue is of tolerance, not of political. But if it helps you,
Yeah.
if it helps you, double down. So basically, I talk about 5 fundamentals. It's only a 6-7 minute video, so if you haven't seen it, you can see it at Veloce dealers or on our Facebook page.
So, as you were painting that picture of using your political, which I definitely agree with. I mean, I think there's a good argument to say keep politics out of business, but like you said, if it's going to help your business and it's true to your like core morals and principles, you really believe that way, and you want to wear it on your sleeve. This is America, and if it's going to help your business, then that's why you're in business, is to do what you think is
I think you
best
just
for you.
need to have a business. I think you need to have your business hat on. If you have your business hat on, then you can make those decisions
The
based on.
the tricky part there is identifying your bit or like related. Look, it's a very two-party system, and the tricky part to me is that you may attach to a party based on one belief or a group of beliefs, not one belief, but you some beliefs, and then new things may come up and you're still now attached to that party no matter what, like that error. That's why to me I say better don't mix them, because you're not in control of the topic you're mixing it with. You're not really in control of that narrative. You're not there to say I believe in this and this is why I support this. You're now just kind of labeled potentially that one side of it, and that the crazy shit that might happen 6 months from now, well, you're still lumped in with that. I remember I remember that business. So
Yeah.
it's a touchy subject. Now I wanted to ask you, as you were talking about that, I imagined businesses being set on fire, protests outside the
Hold,
business, a tin shop,
hold
and
that
so
thought
on.
1 second. Hold that thought 1 second.
Okay.
I'm getting, yeah, I'm not too bright to begin with.
It got dark.
So I'm turning the light on. Go ahead.
So
Yeah.
obviously, like, there's a lot of broken windows going out there, happening out there, and so on. And I'm curious if you have any insight to what are what's your, like, I know Defense Light has become like super popular, like super popular. Riot Glass by Campbell, by Brad, like that's definitely, like, I've seen people now like posting about it, like like a Riot Glass installation. So obviously they're getting dealers out there and so on. From your 1,000 years in the window film industry, what if you are a dealer and you're looking to kind of take, fill the market's demand for a security solution for glass? Where are you going? Because any dealer can go buy some 4 mil, which is too thin, or some 8 mil or some 12 mil. They can figure out how to cut it. They can slap some sloppy dow around the edges, and they can feel like they did a good job. But that's not going to be your deep penetration into filling the security void. That's not going to work forever. What direction would you head?
So interesting question and good timing, because I got a call from a friend of mine who I love this guy. I mean, he's just freaking amazing. He also happens to have the largest window film company in the United States by far. James Beal, he's with National Glazing. So I was relaxing in the backyard yesterday, and James FaceTimed me at about 8 p.m. and we had about a 30-minute conversation. And we were also actually talking about, James has National Glazing. If you haven't heard of it, I mean, they are by far. I mean, there's that. I honestly, Eric, there's no second place for what they have done. And you talk about a guy that keeps on learning. You talk about a guy that keeps on adjusting and learning. So I was talking to him about just different solutions for safety security with today's situations. And he said, look, NGS uses riot glass. And he says the reason we use riot glass is one of the weakest pieces of a system is an adhesive. And he said everything else I've seen out there is adhesive based. Where and the other thing is Brad over at Riot Glass. I mean, he is, yeah, Brad Campbell. I mean, he is anal at his big issue. One of the things I love about Brad is that he's not after the almighty dollar. I mean, he wants to create a system that is so freaking beautiful and that's so. I see a lot of good things. There are a lot of adhesive-based systems out there, but and I trust. Look, I'm not the expert on the safety and security side, but I will tell you that James Beal, I would consider him an expert, and he said I have white papers of Riot Glass against adhesive-based systems. Yeah. And so forth, and he'll go. So he is an expert, so I can't speak to it. So I have to trust, just like when it comes to softwares and so forth, I have to look at Eric and say, Eric, tell me more, master. Bow down, right? I look at James the same way, and I say, man, this guy knows what he's talking about, and he's a big fan. And knowing Brad's personality, who's also I know Brad as well pretty well, he is just, so there are a lot of different options. But again, it's like there are different pricing structures as well. So maybe somebody can't afford a Riot Glass. Maybe an adhesive-based system is better for them.
Yeah, there's a video. So like security film, the way I always thought of it and interacted with it in Window Tint LA was, if you're trying to avoid a smash and grab situation, if you're worried about somebody maybe breaking into your home and they're going to be, hitting that window with maybe a crowbar or a bat or a rock, maybe they're picking up a rock and they're hitting it and, they're not going to just smash the window, open it and come in, which would be like scary as shit. They're going to be banging on that thing for a while. Maybe the alarm goes off. Maybe it takes them 3, 4, 5 minutes. Essentially, if you do it right, they're going to need some sort of knife or something to literally puncture the film and cut it off of the window. And at that point, you're talking minutes and most people are not going through that sort of effort to get in. They're running away. They're terrified at that point. Why couldn't I get in? That's the way I looked at it. Now, this whole the riots we've seen recently, or whatever it is, the breaking of windows that we've seen recently shows a new level of determination to get into a retail store or potentially a home. It's not smash and grab. It's can your window endure 10 hours of people's attempts to get in? And I can't imagine a window film solution that can stand up to that. I think you're in no matter what in these scenarios. However, there was a video that Riot Glass posted on their Facebook that, according to them, is an actual video that was taken. It's in Beverly Hills, and you can watch them beat the hell out of that glass or whatever it is, polycarbonate or whatever it is. And you're not talking about a scratch. You're talking about you might hurt yourself trying to break it, but you did not even wake it up. You didn't phase it.
Yeah, and that is that. And again, Brad's personality is one that you expect that from. Look, there are a lot of people that have good adhesive-based systems, but Brad's always looking for a solution. In fact, I had a conversation with him a couple of weeks ago, or an exchange, an email as well, and I was telling him, I was like, Brad, you've got something beautiful here, and that's what James was saying yesterday as well, is that is there are products, and then there are solutions.
Yeah,
right. Glass
is a solution.
And again, I'm not the subject matter expert, so I go to James on that, but that is a solution.
Yeah, I think Riot Glass, at least as a brand, has been around probably, from what I've seen, maybe 3 or 4 years. Though I believe Brad's been heavily into security as a whole, through screens, through film options and so on for many years before that. So I do just kind of want to point out, obviously, I'm not trying to promote this, but I think it's a great product that this isn't somebody who jumped on a trend 3 months ago. This isn't somebody who
No.
saw it a year ago. This is somebody who's been continuously working to develop multiple security options over the last 5, 10 years, maybe more.
Yeah. And the other thing is that, let me tell you, James uh, is not a guy that jumps on bandwagons. James is a guy, I mean, first of all, I love the guy. He's just such an awesome guy, and he's a great friend of mine. But the other thing is, not just because of that, he really, I mean, the national accounts, to get to where he's gotten, you're not going to get there providing products. You have to find solutions.
Right. He'd be digging his own grave if at
Correct.
such a giant business you start putting something that's not 1,000% you can stand behind or believe.
Yeah. I mean, it's a long-term deal. I mean, you know, they will do in excess of 25 plus million in sales this year. Pretty exciting.
More than Blockbuster.
It's pretty exciting, more than Blockbuster.
No, that's a huge number. That's a huge number for window film for sure, for the industry. Yeah. And you know, we're look, moving forward, I think it's going to be a long time. Hopefully it comes, but it's probably going to be a long time till we all forget the video and pictures we saw of storefronts being annihilated, businesses, all of their inventory, their entire business being wrecked. Wrecked. I mean, just wrecked. There was a business on Rodeo Drive, and like, this is not, I mean, I'm not trying like to bring up like, oh, this guy's a billionaire probably, but like, it was a business that they do only like custom handmade dresses. They had like tens of thousands of hours into these wedding dresses that are only handmade, and that place was destroyed in like a second, just every single bit of it. And like, it's not, I mean, it's people's lives, you know what I mean? And livelihood. So yeah, what I'm saying is, as a window film company, if you're looking to get into security, don't go security with one toe in there, because that's not going to do you any good, especially if you put some stuff on, something happens, and they come back to you with different expectations to results.
Yeah, and then the other thing is that, you know, when people pay a certain amount of money, they have expectations, right? So, I mean, if you're going in with an 8 mil, if you're going with an adhesive-based system, that's fine, you know, but they will have expectations what those failures can be. And let me tell you, you can tell them till they're blue in the face. When somebody breaks through, they're going to forget about everything you told them.
Yeah. And you got to remember that if you're ever installing security film without an attachment system, that you're not actually installing security film. You're installing film. It's real thick. Yeah. But it's not security film because it doesn't have an attachment system. So like, it's not a foundation if it's not in the floor. It's just a piece of concrete, you know.
100%. But you know, I'm thankful, and I really felt for everybody. But man, the restaurants that got broken into was even worse. Like the poor you know, or all the food establishments and all these companies, you know, that got broken into. It's like, man, they're shut down anyway. You know, you can't go in, you can't do this. I mean, it was really a double whammy for small businesses that got affected by COVID and then got affected by the riots. Man, I mean, I just can't imagine. But I'll tell you this, one of the things we do have to look at is, Eric, we are in such a blessed industry that saw peaks. And, you know, a friend of mine who owns a bunch of different businesses here in town said to me, imagine, Harry, if you had opened up a restaurant 2 years ago, right? And effort. So we are truly, guys, when you go to bed at night, you know, I mean, you look at, we are truly, truly blessed, however you got into it, to be in an industry that can, A, make a difference, B, you know, did not really see a slowdown. In fact, we saw peaks. I mean, we were, Eric, we were closed for about 5 weeks here at Veloce. And the day we opened, we picked right back up, and every month we hit amazing new peaks and stuff. So just a blessing to be in this industry.
Yeah, definitely is. Billy Ayton left a comment. He says, I can't help but think that glass companies are already on it. I don't know, but it makes sense. I'm sure glass companies are obviously There's impact glass and so on. Like those are solutions, but I think for the most part, homeowners and business owners are looking for a solution for their existing glass and not looking at necessarily replacing their glass with like impact resistant glass. So whether glass companies are on it or not, it's an opportunity for window foam companies.
And yeah, to your point, Eric, right? The companies that have had problems and had breakage may be looking at replacement glass and glass companies, but the ones that have not had can, for them to take out the existing and replace it is astronomically expensive as well. So those are the ones that should be looking and saying, hey guys, this is a better option for me because I wasn't hit, but I need to get prepared for it. God forbid it happens again.
So real quick, and I don't want to take up too much of your evening because we're already an hour and a half in this, but we're uploading all the videos. Like we uploaded the Tint Wisdom videos to Facebook and to YouTube to the new Tint Wisdom pages. And as I'm doing that, every video I upload, I see it and I remember it, and I kind of remember, oh, that was the topic, that was when it was, where was I, and so on. And today's video is number 97, and the videos around number like 45, so about half ago, were the beginning of the coronavirus. And that's like, I wouldn't have thought that. It feels kind of like, yeah, it's been all year, but like it's just started in a way. Like it's here, but like, man, it's been that long.
Wow.
But like you said, the sentiment amongst the window film community over the last month, 2 months has been, I've never been busier. Once we kind of got past that, I'm closed. Now it's, I've never been busier. But here we are, September 17th, maybe 16th, a couple days into autumn. And I think we're starting to dip our toes into the winter is coming.
Yes.
I already started to see some posts of what do y'all do when you keep busy in the winter, which was like our topic a year ago. So it's like this cyclical thing of like, so anyway, just curious on your thoughts of that as we now enter winter 2020 and 21 after COVID, an already rough season, but with so much more to it.
Eric, lots of things into play right now that we don't have control over that will really decide where we end up. Number one is winter and how COVID reacts to winter, right? Does it spread more? Does it not? Does it get combined with the flu? Because we've got the flu season getting worse, right? So we've got that. Number two is we've got, we've had a lot of layoffs, Eric. And because there was a lot of money pumped in by the government, we haven't really seen the effect of that money. There was billions of dollars poured into our economy, right? So we haven't really seen that effect. So I'm hoping that as the economy picks back up, that money that was pumped in lasts us through it. So there's that factor. Then the third factor is the elections. Depending on the way the elections go and how they turn out and so forth. So there are a lot of different things, and obviously, fourth is a potential vaccine or antibodies, whatever it is. So we've got so many different variables that one of them could make us or break us, right? So it's going to be. Look, I don't think that there's even Warren Buffett is sitting there saying, "Hey, I have a prediction for what is coming up." I'm just thankful that we are in the industry we're in. I'm thankful that there are enough options for COVID that are going on for the elderly and the others that, if we can reduce the death rate, guess what? And if we can reduce the death rate, to me, that's the biggest issue. Then we're like, okay, look, I may get sick and, if I don't die, I'll come out of it or something like that. So, but just too many variables out there right now. I'm looking forward to March 2021 to say, hey, our industry is going to pick back up. Hopefully there are enough solutions for COVID. Hopefully there's some, and so forth. And man, I think we're all looking for, I've had friends in so many different industries lose their jobs, guys. So, I'm just thankful we're here, man.
I agree. And before we're sitting here in March 2021 saying, hey, remember when we were talking about winter? Winter's over. Here we are. This is about to be the busy season. Before that, we will see each other in, and what I mean by each other is me and you, as well as the
Yeah,
community and everybody in January. So there's that kind of
yeah,
midway point, I guess, where we'll be coming out of the winter. And I hope as many people can make it to the Window Film Convention as possible.
yeah, guys. Eric, with SEMA being canceled, with CES being canceled, with the fact that Window Film Conference has gone on instead of at the year mark, it's going to be at the year and a half mark. As long as we can have a decent winter for the dealers out there, guys, this will be a good chance for you to come out and into the Window Film Conference and make the most of it. And let me tell you, if there are a lot of people there, great. If they're not, our goal at for Veloce at that show is that, whether it's 2 people or 2,000 people, we're going to have fun. We're going to make it. We're going to make the most of the people that end up. But if you get a chance, it'll be about a year and a half, and I think that if we have one this January or February or whenever it ends up being, I'm not sure that they're going to have another one six,
Somebody
7 months.
posted in the group that there, like, or in the Tint Wisdom a couple, like last week or so, that there wasn't, that this was going to be the only, like, for sure they weren't going to do one later that year, but I don't know
Right.
how verified that is. So this
Yeah.
is one shot, one and done, which then the next question is, I wonder 2022 if it would be in January again, or it would be back to like the September, which could mean this would be potentially your first event after a year and a half, and potentially the only event for another year and a half,
Yeah.
right? If
Yes.
it moved to September, it would be like an
Exactly. And
additional
I
year and a
think
half.
I think that they have it in September for a reason. They've strategically, these
Yeah.
guys are really
Well,
smart. They have
they're coming off summer, so you're coming off. I have money to travel. I need a
yes.
vacation, and it's the opposite of
Right.
winter.
Yeah, and these guys at Wonderful Magazine, Deb Levy and her team, man, they're some pretty smart people. So I mean, I think that they have it for a reason. So it may be, like you said, it may be another year and a half. So anyway, whoever is there, we're going to make the most of it.
Cool. Well, I look forward to it very, very much. I hope everyone can make it out, as many as possible. Again, it's in Orlando. It's mid-January, and and yeah.
Eric, where's your booth at? Is
um,
it close to ours?
it's close by yours. It's definitely close
Okay.
by yours, and I think it's close by the entrance.
All right. Okay. Well, I look forward to seeing you. Come say hi at our
I hope
booth.
we're not the only ones there.
All
Hey, listen. Here's the
right.
thing. Basically, if we're not, if it's a low attendance, I really hope we can have good internet, so at least we can have some fun and stream it. That's kind of
Sure.
the one, like the deciding factor. If there's no internet and no people, I don't know. It'd be a tough one.
All right.
All right,
Good stuff.
that's an hour and a half. Harry, thanks for taking the time to do this, and thanks everybody for watching as always. And we'll be back tomorrow for a roundtable. Michael Burke from Sunstoppers will be on the roundtable, as well as a few other guests. So we'll see you then. Have a good night,
Awesome. Thanks,
everyone.
Eric.
Thank
Thanks.
you.